During the election campaign, Nigel Farage had eggs and missiles thrown at him, and he was once chased out of a restaurant while he was eating Sunday lunch with his family. UKIP's political message made it very deeply unpopular with some people and loved by others. Now a UKIP councillor in Thurrock says he's had bricks and stones thrown at him in the street. The party claims the attack was politically motivated. Councillor Snell is the UKIP group leader on Thurrock Council. He joins me in the studio now. Graham, thank you for coming in. Good morning. Let's make it clear, first of all, you're not the councillor who had the bricks and stones thrown at him.
Good morning, James. No, I'm not the councillor,
no. Are we sure it was politically motivated? Do we have any idea or not?
Well, the people concerned that did the throwing of the stones, they were saying, "Well, you're that UKIP councillor. We don't like UKIP. UKIP scum, that sort of thing." Mm-hmm. And indeed they did throw stones and bricks at him.
And this was James Baker, is that right?
Councillor James Baker. Yes.
He's too upset to come in and talk about it. Where did it happen?
In East Tilbury.
Yeah. And was it a meeting? I mean, was he just walking? What happened?
He was on his way to a meeting, and he was due to meet some more of our supporters down there. But as I say, he didn't get there because he was attacked on his way. So,
and have you any idea the sort of why he was attacked? Just because of the policies of UKIP?
I have no idea why people want to make that kind of attack in the street. It's abhorrent to me. I mean, you can understand people shouting abuse and maybe wanting to argue the points, but to actually start throwing missiles is ridiculous. Is
it the end of UKIP, do you think? I mean, has the UKIP bubble burst?
Oh, I don't think so. We're going very strong in Thurrock. I think in Essex generally, we've maintained good support, and we're going from strength to strength in Essex certainly.
That's not really true, is it? I mean, be honest, you've lost a lot of councillors who've actually gone over back to the Tories or become independent.
That's happened in some councils. That's true, but where I'm from in Thurrock, that hasn't happened. We've gained council seats. We haven't lost any, and our membership is staying firm. In fact, we've increased our membership in Thurrock certainly. So,
but in Thurrock is one thing. For the political party to be successful, you have to do this over the whole country. And it seems the Daily Mail reported over the weekend that UKIP had lost a quarter of its members since the general election. And there's talk of UKIP going broke as well. I mean, it's not a very good position to be in.
I certainly can't talk on the finances, but it is true that most political parties, if not all of them, in fact, suffer a loss of membership between election periods. And historically, UKIP have always had a surge of membership before an election. I think in between election times, people are less interested and less engaged in the process.
Well, I think the Labour Party's had a surge and increase, hasn't it, since Jeremy Corbyn got power? It seems that he's the flavour of the month, and Nigel's star is beginning to wane.
The Jeremy Corbyn situation is interesting, yes, and he does seem to be bucking a particular trend at the moment. It obviously remains to be seen if that continues, but time will tell on that one.
Do you think after the referendum, we're told that might be in June now, after the referendum, do you think UKIP has any sort of future at all?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're going all out for a positive outvote, which we fully confident we can help achieve. And I think after that, even if the vote is yes to leave, we've got plenty of work left to do. We've got the will to do it, and I don't see us going anywhere anytime soon.
Is it a worry that you've been told to concentrate on the EU referendum and perhaps forget about some of the other issues that when the election was current, of course, UKIP, that is, the UKIP were talking about local issues a lot more than they are at the moment. It seems that your leadership wants you to concentrate now on the EU referendum. That might lose you quite a lot of local support.
No, I don't think so. Because yes, the party itself, Nigel himself, some of the MEPs and the MP, yes, indeed, are focusing on the Europe vote, but the councillors certainly aren't, and we're still focused on doing the local job locally, like we have been from the start, and we will continue to do that. And in fact, again, we're going from strength to strength. We picked up a lot of council seats in the last election because we are very focused on local issues, and we let the big guys deal with the national issues.
So this, do you think that this problem with Councillor Baker is a bit of a hiccup, or do you think this reflects a wider issue of people not being that keen on UKIP anymore?
I think it's probably more of a hiccup. I don't. We've not had a history of that kind of thing in Thurrock, particularly. When Councillor Baker got elected, there was a small group of people down there that actually were a little bit anti him, and he was getting a little bit of grief on internet and Facebook and things. And I think that was a bit more of a reflection of that. He did displace the rather popular independent councillor, and I think a few of his supporters were a bit upset with that. And we're very anti-James for a little while. I think that's changed a little bit in recent times, but I think this is probably the final manifestation of anything anti that particular councillor.
All right. Paul Whiteley is Professor of Government at the University of Essex and joins us now. Professor, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Worrying times for UKIP or not?
Well, a little bit. At the general election in our region, the eastern region, they took about 16% of the vote. Now, we are doing surveys every month at the University of Essex, asking people about the voting intentions across the country and in our region. And currently, our last survey, which was conducted last month, shows that UKIP's on about 12%. So they've lost about 25% of their voting support, which, of course, is in line, with the story in the Daily Mail that they'd lost about a quarter of their supporters since the election. And, there's a couple of things which might explain this. I don't think it's the end of UKIP. I think they are an established party now and are building roots. But clearly they have lost ground, yeah.
They have to be more established on more than just one topic, though, don't they, to survive? I mean, they can't survive only on getting out of the EU.
That's true. In fact, the European Union as an issue is not very important to most people. In our surveys, we ask questions about what are the issues that are most important to you. And at the general election, of course, it was the economy, it was immigration, and the National Health Service. And I think the European Union came 6th or 7th in the list. So it's not a terribly important issue for most people. But UKIP had the advantage during the general election of capturing a lot of voters on the immigration issue, with the argument that Britain can't control immigration as long as it's inside the European Union. And that was a very effective argument. The surprising thing is we've seen this big problem of refugees coming across from North Africa, in Southern Europe, and the European Union hasn't handled it very well. But this has not yet produced a surge in support for UKIP, using this argument that Britain needs to be out to avoid a big upsurge of immigration. We've not seen that yet. Partly because, we haven't really experienced large numbers of refugees in Britain yet, whereas the Germans, of course, have.
All right, Professor, let me just ask Graham Snell from UKIP. What is more important, the immigration problem or the European Union problem?
I think they're one and the same, to be perfectly honest, because if we're in Europe, you can't control immigration, and immigration is becoming a big issue.
And how are you going to control immigration? I mean, with the countries of a lot of these people falling apart, how are you going to actually stop people needing and wanting to move away from them?
Oh, they obviously, you're talking about the Syrians, I guess, at the moment, and others. You can't stop them leaving the country, that's for sure. But you have to be able to manage, as a country, how many you can take and how you deal with that many people.
We haven't taken any really yet, have we?
We haven't, no. But I'm sure
after the Second World War, we took an enormous amount of people who were displaced.
Yes, we did. And
should we not be doing that now?
I think the situation in terms of us as a country now to what it was after the Second War was very different. We have a large and growing population now. And we can all see that the services, National Health Service, schools, etc., are starting to struggle.
But we can't really turn our head away whilst the world is falling apart and pretend it's not going to affect us, can we?
No, we can't, and I'm not saying that. That's a different issue entirely. If we're talking about the immigration issue and can we control how many
It seems to be
people come
linked in a lot of people's minds, that it all seems to be linked together, surely. The world is a smaller place. You can move around it in a matter of hours, not days. You know exactly what's happening because of 24-hour news in every country in the world. You can't really cut yourself off, can you?
It's not a case of cutting ourselves off. The issue, whilst it is the same issue, is different. Is that
How is it different?
Well, because you're talking about the people coming out of Syria and other places into Europe in this instance, and the reasons for that, as to why and how countries in Europe and ours particularly can handle vast quantities of people coming in. Now they are, whilst they're linked in that sense, the methods of
You don't know the answer, really, do you?
The answer's a long answer.
It's a very long answer. But there is no answer, really, is there?
There isn't.
There is no answer to really say to people, I'm sorry, but we don't want to be involved in this. We're going to pull up the drawbridge and we're not going to be a member of Europe and we're not going to take any more immigrants. We can't do that.
We can certainly say, look...
You'd like to do that?
I would like to say that
You'd like to turn away and say, no, we're not helping anybody else?
You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm asking you questions. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you questions.
And I'm answering by saying that we should still be able to control the amount of people we take. We can't take...
We haven't taken anybody yet, but lots of people are scaremongering and saying we're going to be absolutely inundated.
Well,
what's the answer?
That might happen. If you remember when Nigel was saying that we were going to be have loads of Romanian people turn up, people were laughing at him and saying they sent somebody to the bus station or the airport and said, we found one person. Well, hundreds of thousands of people later, and that's not true anymore. No, you're right, we haven't taken very many just yet, but we probably will do.
All right, Graham, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Professor Whiteley, thank you very much indeed for your take on this.